Hi, I'm Steve Brown from Capgemini Altran, and I'm going to talk to you today about digital twins, a key tool for building the future. I'm going to split this into three different sections. So I'm going to first bring you up to speed with what I mean by digital twins. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the benefits and use cases that we see and focus on. And then I'm going to give some real world examples of projects that we've actually done. So first of all, what is a dynamic digital twin? So we build digital twins to reflect actual reality, and that's reality that's either actually exists or planned to exist. So as such, the digital twins have to support the same parameters as the real world. So X, Y, and Z for location, breadth, depth, height, etc., and time constraints on there. And we're pulling data from existing systems at your sites and using what you've already got, your structural information, your process information, your people information, and your asset information. And then what we're doing is using that to create self-building and self-updating digital twins so that reflect what you do as you do it, and it don't give you a day job, so that you've got a day job to do your normal job and then another night shift to then update the digital twin. So we then take additional information from the sensors that are deployed in the factories or on the assets, and from the control systems, the SCADA and the IoT systems, as well as other data that might influence the processes or the assets performance and utilization. So typically market data, weather data, and then other data that doesn't really exist that we have to calculate with advanced analytics or with advanced simulations engines. Typically that's sort of risk-based information. And then what we do is we turn that back, put it into a realistic interface that sort of suits the use cases that we're focusing on. So it's very easy to understand and immediately interpret, so you can see what's the key important information you have to focus on without necessarily being the expert on that information. And that then allows you to then action that and collaborate with other experts in the field and sort of generally share knowledge. But we don't stop there. We like with a digital twin to give you something special. So we like to give you sort of godlike omnipresence, so you can see everything all at once, or zoom in to the tiniest financial transactional detail or to the tiniest nut and bolt on a deployed asset there. We like to give you X-ray vision, so you can see inside of things that are already deployed in a way that you couldn't in the actual real world, and then give you the ability to go back in time and see any previous state of the asset or the process over time, and also to see how something might perform in the near future if it follows the normal pattern, and what might happen if you change a few things. We also tend to take a full life cycle perspective when we're looking at digital twins. So we aren't looking at a snapshot from each of these different segments of the life cycle. It's about all of it. In particular, it's about the data moving between these gaps between the life cycle areas. Gartner have got three interesting sort of groupings of digital twins. They talk about discrete digital twins that focus on these assets or collections of assets. They focus on composite digital twins from a process perspective, and then organizational digital twins from a business outcome perspective. When we talk about dynamic digital twins, we're typically, in all of the projects we're going to look at in a minute, we're covering a bit of each of those and bringing them all in as part of the dynamic digital twins I was talking about. So it includes all of those things. Where we see the benefits then, they fall into these three main buckets of sort of mitigating risk, driving top line growth, and then bottom line savings. So reducing risk based on maintenance failures, on compliance failures, or quality issues, reducing inventory, making sure you get the most out of your assets, increasing your OEE, etc. And also engaging with your clients to get more sales, more of what you're already doing, as well as selling new things to the clients, new digital services, and also using the digital twins as platforms for innovation and customer engagement. We tend to see these two spans of benefits, from the sort of 10% span or magnitude. And by that, what I mean is 10 to 50% is very typical on the projects that we see. but we also see 10 times benefits. And I'm going to use two Gartner quotes to talk about those two different magnitudes. So first of all, we see this sort of the digital twins are already improving situational awareness, and we use them for things like predicting failure, remaining useful life, those sorts of things, and creating predictive maintenance plans. But they're not unique in doing that. So we can do that with advanced analytics without the digital twins. So it's when we come to this second stage here, that where you're choreographing things and you're bringing huge amounts of data together from your outside of your organization as well as inside of your organization, and you're using that to choreograph the automated business responses. This is where digital twins are unique. There aren't any other tools that can really do this as effectively as a digital twin. And that's when we start to get these 10 times benefits. These are step changes in value generation, basically. Sticking with Gartner a moment, this is just an extract from one of the reports from July 2020. I recommend that you get that if you've got a Gartner subscription, and talks about some of the different areas and benefits that they've seen from this study of 50 different clients and 50 different use cases across those clients. I'm not going to dwell on that one. We've got our own that I'm going to go on to in a second, but it's a very interesting paper to look at and give you some ideas. What we tend to do is use this same life cycle approach to help our clients decide how they're going to drive a digital twin implementation, digital twin projects, and how they're going to proceed from one area to the next and bring in the stakeholders and progress and scale up and scale out. So typically we might start with something around the design stage there, where what we're doing is working out how to use the digital twins, not just to improve the engineering space of designing things, but also how to engage engineers across the organization and bring many more engineers together, and also then how to engage the customers so that you can show the customers exactly what it's going to look like, how it's going to fit into their existing equipment onto their site, and show them through these immersive technologies, VR, AR, exactly how it's going to work and what the configuration is going to do for them in their environment. And moving on to sort of the build side of things, again, many different examples, but what we might do there is use the digital twin to help certify people so they're able to build or work on the production side of things before the production line is finished or before the site is started, so that we get everybody ready, trained and certified, ready to roll out. And then we can then track the project as well as it progresses and see whether it's ahead of schedule, behind schedule. And then once we've got the assets deployed, we can have improved handover so that we've got electronic documentation and SOP, standard operating procedures, and then we can start using the remaining useful life calculations and creating advanced spare part strategies based on risk appetite of the client and availability of the equipment and time to market. But most interestingly here, once we've got the equipment deployed and we've got multiple pieces of equipment deployed, we can then start to harness the information and harvest it and really start to predict across fleets and get fleet insights. You can then create services around that and sell those services back to your clients and be much more targeted in the insights of how to operate things more efficiently and how to operate to avoid failure, for instance. So lots and lots of examples of how to use digital twins. Here's some of the customers that we've done in the customer projects we've done in the recent past. So this is one that I'm working on at the moment. We're working on for about the last year with an energy OEM, industrial turbo machinery, looking at gas turbines. We've later on this year, 2020, we've deployed that into steam turbines and compressors, and now we're just deploying them into wind turbines. And I'm actually going to talk about two other ones here, the trains and the big civil engineering bridge project that I'm going to go into more detail. But just to touch on these other ones here, large construction customer where they had big issues with being able to look through 500,000 line items in a bill of materials and find out things to do with the supply chain that could take 2 to 3 days to get the answers to. We showed how we could get those answers in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. One here where we're able to pull multiple pieces of data together for an offshore industry and show how to correlate injuries and health and safety issues with work instructions and SOPs, and help alert people to minimise injuries. How we've been able to keep equipment up to date and avoid bad batches in the pharmaceutical space. How we've helped companies, particularly Akzo Nobel here, to use the data to predict what paints to paint on hulls and save huge amounts of money for their customers, 9% fuel savings. A couple here where we've been working in the aerospace industry that were early sort of investigations that have now led to a sort of multi-site global rollout. And then these two that I'm going to talk about now. So the first one of these is for a train operator. So this is not an OEM, this is actually the operator, where we didn't have the details for a physical digital twin in VR, AR type things that I talked about earlier on. But we had the data related to the assets, and we had key sensor data that allowed us to predict failure based on how fast the doors were opening and closing. This then allowed us to predict when they needed to come out of schedule, so that we could schedule them into the depots to repair, and then not only schedule them into the depots, but also to predict which assets they might need to do the repairing. And all in all, this helped the client achieve a massive reduction in unexpected failure in service, so that they reduced these cancellations and delays. That then led to increased customer satisfaction because there were no delays and cancellations. That saved millions from fines on the regulators, and then the depot work that reduced the effort at the depots by about 50%. So huge savings. This is one of those 10 times benefits orchestrated solutions that I talked about earlier on. This one here was a very large scale civil engineering project outside of Amsterdam that's still ongoing. So we did digital twins of for a consortium that were putting together multiple parties to build different parts of the bridge systems that covered the road systems, two rail systems, and also the waterway system. So many complex schedules coming together and demands from different types of transport systems, and also different types of equipment that were going to be deployed there. So we helped them build the digital twins and design their project, identify things that weren't going to work as well as things that were working, and go to the government with a firm idea of how it would work, what the schedules are going to be, and of course what the costs were going to be. So that one's been deployed. And now they're waiting for budget for the actual build phase now. So we expect to hear more from that one later on. The thing that all of these projects have got in common is that we brought together huge amounts of data from many different aspects and brought people together to collaborate. And surprisingly, it didn't take huge amounts of time. So we're typically talking somewhere between 3 and 4 months to pull these things together. And then that creates the first proof of value. And from there, we then help the clients scale up and scale out and quickly get to value, basically, much quicker than with a traditional technology, using some underlying technologies that I haven't got time to talk to you about today. But they're very real. It's very quick. It's a complete paradigm shift from the old way of working, and it really makes a difference. So with that, if you've got any questions, you can catch me in the Q&A channel during the event, or afterwards you can email me on steve.brown@altran.com. So I hope you have a great event and a great day today. Thanks a lot.